Hey guys, in this video we are going to start building out the page where we can actually chat. So to do this, we're going to start off by fetching the messages for a particular listing. So when I click on one of these listings, I want to add like a button or something here that I can click on, and it'll take me to a page where I can chat with that user about their listing. So now we have the query already to fetch the messages, so we're going to implement just fetching that today. So if we go into our server, messages find, we have this query here called just messages, and we can get whatever data we want from it. And that's what we're going to call. And we just pass in a variable called listing ID. So this is very similar to the query that we built yesterday, where we use the query component to grab a listing giving an ID. So we're going to copy the same format we did this in for this component. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder in the controller, and under modules I'm going to call this view messages, and I'm going to create an index file, index.tsx, and I'm going to copy just this view listing page and paste that in. So now here I can replace the code. So I'm going to first get rid of these schema types, and I'm going to call this view messages query. Same thing here. And now this is going to have only one variable, and it's going to be listing ID, which is just going to be a string that we pass in. So listing ID, say listing ID. And then here we can fetch whatever values we want. So we're going to get an array of messages back, so we can get the text, the user, the listing ID. For now, I think I'll just get the text, the user, I'll get the ID, email, and then also the listing ID. So I'll get everything for now, why not? Let's go ahead and rename this with view messages. And actually we could probably rename this to something else because we're not going to make this a higher order component, but I'll leave it for now. Let's call it messages. We can have a loading. Now the type for this we need to create, so I'm going to just do yarn gen types inside of my controller. Again, I messed something up. Let's see. I don't know if I messed up. Oh, it should be messages. I think it's complaining because I just had a bad query here. And what I can do if that's still wrong is, okay, it's good, is I just can copy and paste this into GraphQL Playground, and it'll tell me like where the syntax errors are. Alright, so we should have some new stuff. I see some new stuff. So now I can import that. So I'm going to say messages, and now messages is going to be an array, so I don't have to say that it's null. It just might be empty by default. So I'm going to say messages query. And let's grab, I guess messages. Let me hover over and see what this is. Let's click on it. Alright, so I'm going to make that into an array because it's an object. So it's an array of objects that have that stuff in it. Yes, we do expect a listing ID to be passed to this because we need to pass that to our query. Here I'm going to say with view messages. Renamed this to view messages. That looks good there. View messages variables. Now the query is the one we just created. Pass in the listing ID. And then we can just pass it down like we did here. So I'm going to say messages. It's going to be the same type that we put up there. And by default, it's going to just be an empty array. And if we get the data, we're just going to change that. So we're going to say data dot, let's see, it should be view messages. Messages, or maybe it's a view. I'm getting no auto completion on this, so I'm not sure what I should be calling this. And in getting like component did mount stuff, I'm not sure why it's doing that. I think what this should be is view messages. Yeah, so if I click on this, Oh, that's right. This should be view messages query. Okay, so I just messed up what the type should be here. So I use the type right here, which is the class, and not that. All right. So now I correctly get auto completion. There we go. So if we have data.messages, we just set it, and then we pass this to the children. So this is good to use. I'm going to go ahead and export this. This is going to be view messages, save. Let's go do yarn build here, and then we can check this out in our front end. So cool, built okay. So let's open up the website, and let's start by creating under, I guess, listing, a new folder called messages, and we'll say message connector.tsx and import star as React from React, and we'll export our class message connector, and this is going to extend react.peer component, and here we're going to be using a route from React Router. We're going to have a parameter, so I'm going to say route component props. And let's change this to React Router DOM. And just like how we did on our other page, we're going to have a listing ID, which is a string that we can use. We're going to render function. And we can just copy what we did to destructure this before. So we did match params listing ID from the props. And I can actually just copy this whole thing, although it's pretty simple. And we can just put in, oh, there we go. So now for us, instead of view listing, we're going to say view messages. We passed in our listing ID. Now it's going to be data.messages. I'm going to do messages.length. So if we don't have any messages, well, that's actually not really what we want to do. I'm going to destructure this because one of the values is loading. So here I'm going to say if we're loading, then we'll display that. Otherwise, if we come down here, I would like to display all the messages. So I guess we can display it in the div here. I'm going to say, let's grab it from that. So messages.map. So for each message, I'm just going to display a div. And the key is going to be m.id. Well, I guess I didn't fetch the ID for the message. I guess, do we have any unique properties on this? We don't. All these could be duplicated. So in this case, we'll just use the index. So I'm going to say I, and I'm going to say message. And I'm just going to prefix it to listing message. So we can get the index as the second parameter to map. And then I'm just going to display in the middle here m.text. So we can see the contents of all the messages. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this as a route. And we want to have a variable here, same as that one, a listing ID. And now I'm going to say listing-chat/that. Or maybe we want to put chat at the end, whatever you want. So yeah, I can show you that. Why not? So you can also just have variables in the middle like this if you want to. So I can have /chat at the end here. And I can say message connector. Oops. And let's see, did that import good? Yeah. So we can go check this out now. Let's make sure the server didn't crash. Server's good to go. So now on this page, I can do /chat. And now I'm should be fetching the messages for it, but it looked like I'm still displaying this thing here. So I think I messed something up. Oh, you know what? I didn't put the word exact here. So if you don't use the keyword exact, and I'm going to say exact true, what happens is you'll notice this matches right here. Even though there's an extra thing at the end, it still matches. And to avoid that, you can say exact. And so now this route will only match that. So it has to be exactly this. It can't have extra stuff at the end like that. So just note that that's when you add exact if you want to be strict about that. Okay, so we should be fetching the messages. I actually don't have any messages yet for this. If I come over here, I can create a message. And I'm going to refresh. And now I can see my one message that says, hey. And now real quickly, what I want to do also is add a link from that page. So on the view listing page right here, I would like to not only display the listing name, but I would also like to display a link. And this is going to go to /listing/ and then I'm going to have the ID. So that's listing ID, and we're getting that from the URL, and then /chat at the end. Chat. And we can import that from React Router DOM. So now on this page, I can go to the chat by clicking on that, and now it brings me over to hey, and we can see the messages for that. All right, cool. So that's what I wanted to do for this video, and the next one we'll get into is actually creating messages from this screen instead of having to go to graphical and creating a message here.